My husband is in Jordan, Montana.
Yeah.
I know I've
you've told me, but I don't think you've told them.
Okay, my husband is a paleontologist now. He primarily sorts fossiliferous sediment from the University of Washington's paleontology lab. And this is basically, it's literally bags of dirt that they've collected from their yearly digs at Hell Creek, Montana.
Mm-hmm.
And there's little tiny microfossils in there. There's little bitty teeth. There's tiny, tiny skulls. There's little vertebrae and fractions of, like, tibia and shit. And he's found some really incredible things. He's found, like, in his last sort, I think he found something like 13 or 14 mammal teeth. Mm-hmm. And normally their sorters are excited to find one in a set.
Yeah, from what you've talked about and from what I've seen him posting on Twitter about, it seems like he's actually really good at finding the stuff.
Yeah.
And, like, he finds stuff that other people would miss.
Yes, he's really good at it. He's really passionate about it. He's found some really incredible, like, he found an intact, like, small Tyrannosaurus tooth at one point. He's found so much, like, fossilized scute, like turtle shells and shit.
Yeah.
Really good stuff.
Do you think the scientists who, like, get the report back are like, fuck yeah, Gary did this one?
I don't know, but I hope so. They get a bunch back. They're like, yeah, we got a coal bag.
Yeah, we can't. There can't be that many people who do this.
No, I don't think so.
It has to be it's got to be a small. You know that when you, like, work in a specific job where, like, certain people send you back things or whatever, and you're like, then you know who's good and who's bad, and you're like, oh man, this is from the bad person. I'm gonna have to redo it. And then you're like,
this one's from Jared.
And you're oh boy, Jared can't find teeth in dirt for shit. And then you're like,
he would know a tooth if it bit him in the ass.
And then, like, whoever the people are that send them out, like the researchers who are actually doing this work, who are really dependent on that coming back, are probably overjoyed that he's so good at finding all this shit.
To see all those tiny, tiny little mammal teeth. Yeah, it's really, he loves it. And then when they were planning for this year's dig, because once a year they go to Montana for, like, 3 weeks. They dig up as much as they can. They make progress on the big digs, like there's a Triceratops here that we've been really slowly uncovering. Mm-hmm. And they were like, you're part of the team. Do you want to come on this dig? And he was like, yes! So for months, he's been planning this trip. He rented a car. He got because we've been talking about, we want to become people who are comfortable camping, because it sounds like it would be a wonderful experience if we could just get a good night's sleep. So we've done a lot of research about how to camp with comfort.
Yeah.
He's been sending, like, photos and videos of their base camp, but there's not exactly a super strong signal out at the dig site.
I bet there's not. I'm pretty sure dinosaur bones don't have Wi-Fi.
No.
Or 5G.
This T-Rex skeleton does not have Wi-Fi.
Can I get 5G on this dead dinosaur? Welcome to Bonus Experience.
Yeah, bonus experience.
We've had guests for a couple episodes.
Yeah, that's right. I haven't been. I'm so sorry. There's been a lot of stuff going on, and I can't talk about all of it. But it's okay.
It's okay.
Everything's okay.
That's all right. You're here now.
I'm here now. My dog is like looking at me with the big eyes. He's very mopey because the other adult isn't here. He doesn't know what to do with himself.
Hopefully, your struggles will be over soon. And if they're not, well, there might be another guest episode. It is what it is.
We do what we can.
Yeah, we're gonna keep trying to get the show out, keep it rolling, give you guys the content that you're paying for, and hopefully keep everybody cross your fingers that Ray's struggles are over soon.
Including those beautiful certificates.
Yes!
That are still available. This is Bonus Experience.
Yes, it is. We are a podcast with the deeper look at the play experience and the finer details of running and writing games.
We are queer women speaking with authority about games.
And yes, we swear. I'm mad about it. Hello, everyone. I'm Monica, industry professional, game developer, and designer. I don't have a dog.
I'm Ray, game designer, industry professional, fiction writer. I have a dog, and he's breathing directly on me with his barbecue grill breath.
Oh, incredible. I have many cats, but they're not here right now.
Yeah, no, my cats are not here. My dog, buddy,
he loves you.
I have to go let my dog out.
Okay, go.
Will you continue? Why don't you tell them all about the different things that we've done and published and written? And
that's gonna involve me remembering them. It's a long list. It's a big list. And, if you really want to know everything that I've worked on that's out, you can search my name on DriveThruRPG. But you have to look at it on desktop, not on mobile, because on mobile, it will credit me with everything. And I've worked on a lot, but not literally everything.
You did great.
Thanks. All right. So today we're going to talk about beloved topic of the internet. Does system matter?
Good God, y'all.
What
is it
good for? Absolutely something.
Maybe.
Something maybe.
I don't know.
We don't know. We're gonna talk about it.
We're gonna have to discuss it.
Yeah.
For the next 30 minutes at least.
At least.
And go back and forth. And maybe stop in the middle to talk about another podcast.
Yeah, 30 to 45 minutes typically. If you're a patron, it'll go on probably closer to an hour. That's what you get from us, 15 to 30 extra minutes of content every episode. Yeah?
What is it they're saying? System doesn't matter?
Yeah, or does matter. This is an argument. Right. So who keeps saying this and why?
Well, I keep seeing it on Twitter in, the indie TTRPG sphere. Mm-hmm. And normally when it's, once again eating itself in some kind of cursed Ouroboros. Uh-huh. The old indie gamers. I think it's like a counterculture, a thing. I don't fucking know. I'm gonna blame it on D&D.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I see most of this from people online, largely on Twitter. And since I started hanging out on Tumblr more, I don't really see posts like this as often.
It's one of the few things that Tumblr doesn't have something to say about.
Yeah, Tumblr's tabletop RPG tag is people being excited about their D&D OCs.
Yeah, it's just people talking about their game blorbos.
Yeah, it's talking about their game blorbos or their campaigns or sometimes there's that basic DM advice thing that annoys me, but I care about it less on Tumblr because people can talk on Tumblr. You can write out a whole post because it's a blog, not a microblog.
Right.
And I've seen I got onto Tumblr, I was surfing through the TTRPG tag and I saw a post about Blades in the Dark and a post about Through the Breach right away. And it was okay, yes. Fuck ever talking about RPGs on Twitter ever again. But really it feels, when I see this on Twitter, it really feels like inflammatory clickbait to get people invested in design, angry, and then create engagement and viral threads. Which is clearly working, because we're right here doing an episode on the fucking topic.
Yeah. So, great job, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Like the comic. I guess. So let's broadly define what the fuck system means here.
Well, this is a Monica thing. I'll take a stab at it. It's the rules and stuff, the dice that you use or don't use, so maybe you use cards or whatever. It's the resolution mechanics. Mm-hmm. It's how you make your character and the things your character can do. And it's the rules and stuff. That's system, right?
Yeah, that's close enough.
All right. Hey, I learned something from the 5 years of BXP.
What if I just left that there and didn't elaborate? What if I just was
define system, refuse to elaborate, leaves.
Right. To be maybe a little bit more specific or technical, which I didn't outline, I'm just gonna do this off the cuff. I left it at that joke and then was that's funny, and then past Monica was that'll be great. Present Monica's why didn't I write any other notes?
I have ADHD, I can't not elaborate.
Right, yeah. I will explain, that is a threat. I mean, you are right. You kind of hit on all the big things. It's character creation is sort of the focus of the game. It is the specific rules, and then the functions of the specific rules to create the experience that you are trying to create. The way Trinity Continuum always gives you a clue for free, right? That's part of the system when you're doing an investigation, because it wants you to be hyper-competent investigators, because you're supposed to be playing, like, leverage-type characters. Like,
or like how Exalted will give you bonus dice if you describe your action in a particularly interesting way, because it's trying to support a cinematic playstyle.
Right. Or like Bluebeard's Bride has the meta move Shiver with Fear, where you're supposed to call out a player who looks scared. Yeah.
Because it's a horror game, and it wants to encourage that kind of play.
It wants you to encourage telling a scary ghost story. And so,
but we're kind of spoiling the rest of the episode by talking about how system encourages play.
We do. We're gonna talk about that at the very end. But like, this is the teaser to us talking about that later, because those are the things that define the system. And they are the widgets, no matter what they are, that encourage play. And it doesn't matter if they have dice. It doesn't matter if they are meta, like the Bluebeard's Bride example. It doesn't matter if they're tokens, like in Belonging Outside Belonging. All of those are mechanics, all of those are system, and all of those encourage play.
Right, exactly.
And that will be very important. This is a special tool, which we will use later.
Well, okay, then what do people mean when they say system doesn't matter?
I kind of really think this is more like a thought experiment, and that's me being charitable. It bears the meta question, how much do the rules of the game matter? I know I have done this. Have you, where you've enjoyed a game and you just didn't engage with any of the systems? You just sort of were in character and were talking, and it was sort of like
absolutely.
Forum RP, but with people. And it's great, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And if that's the case, are all the rules made up and the points don't matter? Like, is all tabletop RPG enjoyment just one long, kinda less funny game of Whose Line?
Alright. So in the counter then, when people say system does matter, what do they mean when they're saying that? Is it just the counter of that? Like, you can't just have Whose Line as a TTRPG?
Right,
and see, even Whose Line has a system.
Right, even Whose Line has, like, I was just about to say that, even Whose Line has rules, right? Like, the game Props has specific rules, Scenes from a Hat have specific rules, the one game where they have to constantly ask questions to each other has rules, like, you're out when you can't, when you fuck up asking a question back, right?
And even outside of those mini-games, the buzzer means you're done.
Right.
Or, when the host gives you a prompt, you go along with the prompt, like...
Right. Yeah, right.
You
like
wait. You take turns. You wait for the other person to bow out, and then you take your turn.
Right. And so, like, even those improv games have mechanics. Those are all mechanics. Sorry if I just blew your mind.
That's a system, my guy.
That's a system, my guy. And, like, yeah, when you say a system does matter, the framing is that, like, you wouldn't have those moments without it, even if you're not actively engaging with them at the moment.
Okay. Wow, this sounds like it's like it has nuance or something.
Yeah, almost like it would be better for a Tumblr post.
Now, let's be careful because Tumblr doesn't exactly do nuance either.
I mean, that's fair. Greater Tumblr, allergic to nuance. Tabletop Tumblr, pretty cool.
I've started a new Tumblr, and I've taken a hard line against discourse. If I see discourse, I block.
Yeah,
I don't come to Tumblr for discourse. Not anymore!
BXP and the mid-episode break room are brought to you by the Misdirected Mark Network.
Bing!
Thank you. Become a BXP patron. We like your money. Also, you get to chat with us directly. You get special Discord roles. You get exclusive hangouts, like watching Ray make terrible certificates for people.
Terry was my consultant. I couldn't have done it without Terry.
We love you, Terry. Terry Robinson of Made It to the Podcast. Mwah.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show.
Terrell.
Terrell Robinson. You can support us for as little as $1 a month, and you get all of that stuff for as cheap as $1. If you'd rather support BXP without Patreon, because we know Patreon can be a little... sometimes, but it's got the corner on the market, so, is what it is. You can subscribe on Ko-fi instead, which gives all the same benefits. Gets ko-fi.com/bonusexp, or you can just buy our stuff. We have a swag page. bxpcast.com/bxpswag. You can get a t-shirt with our logo on it. You can get a t-shirt that says Margaret with an exclamation point. You can get a t-shirt that says Die Mad About It. That's there. It's also on Nerdy Kepi, which BXP is sponsored by. So not only can you buy BXP exclusive stuff, like if you want a bug with the BXP logo that looks like mocked up to look like a LaCroix logo, because we love water that's barely flavored.
I love it.
Yeah, you can buy those, but you can also buy all kinds of rad Pride gear. Like I'm currently wearing a pair of shorts that are the Buy Pride flag, and they've got little flowers, and they've got a whole bunch of animal skulls wearing flower crowns.
Oh, that's adorable.
They are the most comfy shorts I own.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm not just blowing smoke. I own a ton of their stuff. It's all super comfy. It's all really good. It's all queer as hell. And it's the sort of queer stuff where, like, if your family is full of bigots, just, like, buy the trans, like, oil on water pattern type thing, and people will just be like, yeah, man, cool shorts. I like that they're pink and blue. And you'll be like,
yeah.
In your head, you'll be like, yeah, it's because I'm trans. But outwardly, you're like...
One of the great things about a lot of the designs that Spider and company have up on Nerdy Kepi is that a lot of them are, like, you know, I'm queer, I'm here, and go fuck yourself. But some of them are, like, stealth queer. So if you are like, I want to have some pride, but I'm not in a place where I can do that, like, really openly, safely, you can still go buy some really comfortable, really handsome, and or beautiful prints that express your identity and your pride without, like, making it really obvious if you need to go, like, you know, stealth fighter jet style.
Yeah. Or, like, if you just are worried about it, like at the office, if you're still being made to go into the office. Or, like, at the family picnic, if you're still being made to go to family picnics. But nerdykepi.com, NERDYKEPPIE, and then use code BXPcast at checkout, 10% off, never expires. Sometimes the things are a little spendy, that's okay. They're an independent business and charge them what they're worth, but hey.
Independently and queer owned, please visit them. They're very cool, give them your money.
And our code doesn't expire, so if you're like, those shorts were kind of expensive, and I don't have money for shorts and a cool pair of shoes, you can buy the shorts one time, use the BXP code, get paid, come back, buy the shoes, and still use BXPcast and get another 10% off on those shoes too, and we get the money for both of them, no matter how many times you use it. So, good deal. Anyway, saying nice things is always free. It's always free. If you got no money at all, you can just go leave us a review, or just tell your friends. We want to grow our audience. We are really interested in meeting more people and having them come around and listen to us and our good advice. Good advice? We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Podbean. We're on Google Podcasts. We're on Stitcher. I think we might even be on Spotify. We don't like Joe Rogan either, but we did that, and that's where people listen to it, so whatever. Leave us a review, help us get more listeners, tell your friends, we love it. That's best thing you can do for us.
Yep. Word of mouth is the most powerful advertisement.
Sure is. And if you like bonus experience, you will also like Bone, Stone, and Obsidian. Jesse and Robert take a monthly deep dive into the Dark Sun setting and discuss it across all editions of D&D. So, does system not matter? Let's start with yes. System doesn't matter.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So system doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Nope, doesn't matter at all.
Dee showed this off with their Calvin Ball game, where they showed you can really just have a mishmash of a bunch of different characters from different sources and just fucking roll with it. And system doesn't matter if everyone buys into the new paradigm or already understands the conversation and the stakes and is willing to basically self-moderate in a sense. Mm-hmm. So in those situations, I would say, yeah, system doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, of course it doesn't. System doesn't matter. No, of course it doesn't. The real enjoyment of a tabletop game is the act of playing.
Right, exactly.
And playing with your friends. It's diving into character. It's being surprised by people's choices. It's laughing at a surprisingly bad or good roll. And it doesn't really matter what dice you're rolling, or whether you're flipping cards, or whether you're spending tokens, or what rules were involved. The outcome is more important than the means, right?
Right.
The system doesn't matter.
I know we've talked before about... We've had a couple of episodes where we've talked about this idea of a queer game.
Right.
Which I realize now, like, long after the fact that when we were talking about this game is queer, or this game isn't queer, what we were really doing was applying queer reading, like queer literary criticism to the game. It's not that the game itself is inherently gay. Unless you're talking about, like, Thirsty Sword Lesbians, which is textually about gay characters.
But even then, D6s aren't gay. There's nothing... Yeah.
The system supports gay stories.
Right.
But then when you look at something like D&D, where people who don't really know any better talk about how D&D is a gay game because their characters are gay. So we could say at that point, the system doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that D&D isn't textually supporting queer stories or queer characters. It doesn't matter that the most that we had for a long time was just like a sidebar where the writers were like, sure, queer people exist in this setting, and that was it. People were still like, yeah, D&D, it's where me and my gay friends can make gay buddies, and we make gay adventures together.
Yeah, we make gay blorbos, and we make them kiss.
Yeah, so the system doesn't matter if you already have this ideal in mind, and you're ready to just roll with it. Because it's basically a way of committing fan fiction, I guess, on the system, where you're finding that space and kind of expanding it, like, you know, ice in the cracks of a sidewalk. Like, you found that, you're going to make room for it yourself. So at that point, it doesn't matter whether the system is neutral or hostile, even, to the themes that you want to introduce, because ultimately you have complete control over how your game is going to go.
Right. And if you are... I have a friend who's been telling me awesome stories about her D&D group, and they play D&D, and I'm going to put that in air quotes real hard, because they're really just rolling D20s, and sometimes using spells.
Yeah.
And they're doing that to tell all kinds of stories, right? And it sort of kind of gave me the epiphany of like, no, system really doesn't matter. It's just means to an end, right? They wanted to tell a story, and they wanted some randomization, and so they went with the thing that they're familiar with, which is rolling a d20, and some of the skills, and some of that stuff. But also at that point, you're not really playing D&D anymore, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, like...
Yeah, well, no.
Like,
Of course not.
I want to be clear that I was actually pretty impressed by what she told me. That they managed to play a Five Nights at Freddy's game using pieces of D&D. And I'm going to say pieces of D&D, because if I say D&D, people are like, how did you dungeon crawl in Five Nights at Freddy's? And I'm like,
well, Five Nights at Freddy's is kind of a dungeon crawl, except that you're they're crawling through the dungeon toward you.
Well, apparently
the dungeon crawls you.
Apparently it was closer based on Security Breach, which I don't know if you've played or watched anybody play.
Yes.
So we have, which is more dungeony, honestly.
Yes.
Because you're wandering around the whole big area. But they were playing the animatronics, not the kid.
Okay. Yeah.
And then they just really sort of they just used the structure of a class to basically make a playbook.
Yeah, okay.
For each character. And I was like, okay, yeah, you used pieces of D&D to tell the story, right? Like, yeah, and I think that sometimes when people are like, Pride and Prejudice and Dungeons and Dragons, well, we know that one definitely had, like, ballroom maps, and that is self-parodying. But, like, when you do things...
we'll get
to that later, right? When fans do things like, when people do this on their own, there's nothing wrong with that. You are actually doing game design. You're, like, smashing the pieces apart and then, like, making that your own. And I don't know that you're playing D&D anymore when you've taken the idea of a class and turned it into, what's her name? Roxy the Wolf, right? Like...
Yeah, and it takes place in an abandoned, possibly haunted Chuck E. Cheese super mall.
Right, yes. And I don't know that you're playing D&D anymore, but you are using the pieces of it to create a thing that you want to make, right?
And I would argue, too, that your friend and their group should probably be writing down the different changes and notes that they're making, because there is absolutely there are absolutely people who would want to play a D20 Five Nights at Freddy's where you are the animatronics.
Oh, sure.
I know several perverts who would love that.
And they're currently the person who, and they also rotate through GMs, which is awesome. And so, like, they're also currently playing
that's really cool.
properly D&D. And properly, that makes you sound like such an asshole.
Like out of the box D&D.
Out of the box D&D, yeah, where they're like, it's an adventure. There's dungeons, there's dragons, right? Like more sticking to the tools as presented, right? Less homebrew.
Right.
And that also sounds like a wonderful game they're in, and I'm just so happy that they're having such a good time. And I wrote them a little improv system, like, real quick off the fly, and I was like, here's a whole bunch of, I was like, oh my god, you guys need to, here's some tools I'm gonna give you. And then I taught them about question askers and blew their fucking minds.
I remember that. We talked about that in our perception checks episode.
Yeah. I brought up question askers. So I think this is actually a pretty good way to, like, roll right into no, system matters so much.
Yes, system matters so much.
System matters so much. It's actually extremely important. It's maybe one of the most important things to this hobby. So
yes. Okay, I know I just said that system doesn't matter at all, but system matters a lot. System is going to dictate what kind of game you're playing.
Yeah.
The system determines what kind of actions are important, what kind of characters are the main characters in the story, what kind of story the game supports. If you have rules for shooting from behind cover, that tells me your game is going to feature shooting from behind cover.
Yep.
It's not going to be about, having a sword made of bone that you use to stab a snake cult wizard. Because you're shooting from behind cover. Unless somehow you have both, in which case that sounds extremely fucking rad.
That's Exalted.
It's Exalted. Exalted has both
Cover.
Guns and bone swords and snake cult wizards.
Yeah, I was
yes.
like, Exalted has, if you're thinking at least about essence, Exalted has rules for cover, for shooting
Yes.
from it, for shooting
Yes.
into it, for having
Yes.
a bone sword, and for stabbing
Yes.
snake cultists. All of it.
I meant like shooting like a firearm.
Oh, okay.
Specifically.
Well,
But Exalted has those.
Yeah, I mean, but they are literally firearms. But you also, in essence, at
Firearms.
least, you could just be like, yes, it's a pistol. It's an early
fine,
black powder
sure.
weapon. It's a
Yeah.
medium range weapon. Go away. Shut up.
Yeah, there you go. Fine.
Yeah, fine.
But again, that's where system comes into play. Where
Right.
if you don't and like if we go to like Thirsty Sword Lesbians,
Right.
the moves revolve around romance and intrigue and drama. There's a move called, what was it? Finally Kiss.
Hang
after
on, I have it right here. Hold on. Finally, a kiss in a dangerous situation.
Right. That tells me right there so much about what these games are going to be about. This
Right.
is going to be a game about romance. This is going to be a game about intrigue and pining and feelings and dramatic conclusions. We finally kiss after the danger has passed. Like,
Right.
that right there tells you so much about what that game is about because it's written into the system. If Thirsty Sword Lesbians didn't have a system and was just like, I don't know, what if there was a game about gay girls? It wouldn't have nearly the kind of staying power because it doesn't have a rule set to prop those stories up.
I've played Thirsty Sword Lesbians a whole once, and it was wonderful, and I want to play it again.
I still haven't played it yet. I want desperately to play it. I know so many queer folks.
We could maybe talk Chaz into running it for us again, because Chaz ran it for me the last time.
Oh, that would be wonderful. I would love
Yeah, put a pin in that, because I want to talk about, of course, system matters so much. It's literally the most important thing. That's the art form. Holy shit.
Yeah.
And like, on the very surface level, the more restrictive a system is, the more you'll have to ignore it or add things to adjust the play to play the game you want to play. Like, ignoring the dungeon parts for running a Five Nights at Freddy's game, or like ignoring classes specifically in lieu of turning a class into the character, which is basically a playbook. And like, this is why I encourage game literacy, not because I want people to stop playing D&D, but because I want people to understand how to make those things that they want to make.
Or somehow you have like a wildly successful Kickstarter about Jane Austen novels using Dungeons and Dragons, which it's not like, what if a Regency setting married to a fantasy setting where it's like,
that would be so cool.
The Bennets have to worry about how a dragon has moved into the neighborhood, and wait, he's actually an eligible bachelor.
I would love that game. Holy shit.
I would love that. That Kickstarter drove me crazy because it was about like a wedding and there was a murder mystery, and it was not, I have no idea how, like, I don't know if the person had ever read Jane Austen. Like, it just blew me away that, like, there are so many other systems that you could have used to try to gamify,
or like
fucking Good Society exists. Like, what?
But
oh my god!
The thing that makes that so frustrating and self-parodying to me is that it is astoundingly illiterate. Like, game illiterate. Like, there's nothing wrong with wanting to use D20s and skills and skill checks to play a Jane Austen game.
Honestly,
there's nothing wrong with that.
It's the world's most popular role-playing game. It prints money if you have a good concept, and I don't begrudge the hustle in any way. It frustrates me as a literature-focused English major and as a professional game designer to see someone trying to sell a Jane Austen Dungeons and Dragons game that is neither Jane Austen nor Dungeons and Dragons.
but like, when you get to there were literally like ballroom maps, and I'm like, no, stop! I'm gonna stop you right there.
It's baffling. It's interesting. It's bemusing.
Like, I don't I don't begrudge anyone wanting to break up the games they are familiar with to create a play experience. Like, I just very happily talked about how my friends did that, right?
Right.
And it's just aggravating and frustrating when people do that for money and then do it in the most I know nothing about games way ever. Like, I don't care if you want to use D20s. I don't care if you want to use sort of a playbook meets class system to, like, roleplay specific characters. I actually think that's pretty good. Like, Lady Blackbird does that, if you're gonna follow... And the thing is that if you want to do that, there are so many games to learn from in order to basically create the best version. And that's all I'm saying, is just learn these other things so that you can write the thing you want to write. And I will judge you for using D20s, but that's because I'm a snob, not because it's a bad choice.
I'm trying to think, like imagine trying to, like, roll a fucking survival check.
Why would you roll a survival
era,
check in a Regency era game about, like, courtship?
Like, oh, hang on, I'm gonna use my acrobatics roll to... Where are you tumbling? What are you climbing?
Yeah.
You're going to ruin your petticoats!
You can go back to our episode on skill lists about how skill lists should inform the things you're doing in the game, and so, like, if you're going to break that apart, then maybe you should start there. So, since we mentioned Dee's Calvin Ball game earlier,
right.
I'm gonna let you in on the secret sauce of Dee's Calvin Ball game,
yeah.
is that works because Dee adjudicates each individual character according to their system.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that's how they do it. And, like, when we played the big streamed game, which I think is probably on YouTube that everybody can watch, was that for OPPCon last year? I think it might have been.
We'll have to find the link.
We'll have to find the link. We'll have to figure it out. But I think that's out there and you can watch it, and I was playing in it, but I knew the systems everybody was playing.
Yeah.
And so, like, there were occasions where Dee was like, what does that mean? And I was like, I know what it means.
Even the My Little Pony system?
The My Little Pony system was, I believe, a D20 variant, so yes.
Oh my god. Did someone really take Dungeons and Dragons and apply it to My Little Pony?
Yeah, Pony Finder.
Oh my god, Pony Finder.
I don't think the version Eddie was using was specifically the Pony Finder version. I think it was closer to, like, a Pugmire take on it.
Okay, see, you said Eddie, and I was like, okay, Pugmire is a very good example.
I know that there is a super crunchy Pathfinder version, and I think the version Eddie was using is more like that, but the Pugmire version, and I don't think Eddie wrote it. I think it was just someone kind of did the real good, like, stripped down D&D that Pugmire uses and used it for My Little Pony, which works!
We talk about D&D and we shit on D&D 5e and D20, and then I remember Pugmire, and I'm like, oh, but Pugmire fucking rules. I loved running Pugmire. That was so much fun.
Well, like, let's talk about Pugmire for a second, because system matters, and, like, D&D, right. And, like, Pugmire looked at D&D, went, yeah, classes, races, adventure, D20s, and then stripped it down to those bare parts, and then cleaned it up and made it fit the idea of playing sentient dog and cat people, and bird people, and lizard people, rat folk, in a post-apocalyptic world that no longer has people in it.
Right. Yeah.
And
it's
cool
as hell.
It's cool as hell. And like,
and he actually broke it up into, like, you have Pugmire, you can play your dog folks, and then you have the Monarchies of Mao, where you can play your cat folks, and you can mix them if you want to, but they do also have their own separate rules.
Yeah. But the other thing I wanted to say, too, is that, like, if you're playing a game, and the system is fighting you so much that you don't want to use it, that's bad. And either you are playing the wrong game for the thing you want to do, or you are playing a game that's not very well designed.
Right. Okay, so you're talking about, like, you're fighting with the system. Right. Maybe it's not the right system. This sort of leads us a little bit uncharitably through Exalted 3rd Edition and into the design philosophy behind Exalted Essence.
I mean, I only want to talk about Essence. I don't really want to.
Okay.
So I want to talk about how Essence was designed specifically to be fun to engage with. Like, we put a fuck ton of work into making sure that the rules themselves were enjoyable to engage with. And, like, fans love to argue about whether or not the Essence fight rules are realistic, which I'm going to tell you right now they're not, because that's not what they were designed for.
They're not designed for realism. We're not trying to simulate
They were not
reality.
designed for realism. They were kind of designed to be cinematic, and I think it hits that beat, but what they were really designed for was to be fun to play.
Yep. sometimes simulating reality isn't fun.
Yeah,
sometimes
like,
it's not very fun.
if you're going to look at it and critique it, I want you all to understand that, like, Essence is specifically designed to be fun and to keep players in the game and for them to enjoy playing with the rules.
Yes. Yes.
Not, like, specifically the charms, the dice rolls, the difficulty, stunting, the way all of that works is designed to make people want to do it.
And a great side effect of this, too, is that I hear a lot from various individuals within my circles that Essence is also a lot of fun to write for, not just to play. That the system is so much fun that they don't just want to play with the rules as written, they want to create new widgets for it.
Yes, I mean, it was also designed specifically to be easy to pick up.
Right.
And easy to... Now, I will say that writing stuff for games is always a little hard. And converting stuff is always a little hard. But, like, we wanted it to be fun to play with. And by virtue of being fun to play with, will inspire you to want to make your own stuff. And because it's fun to play with, you'll want to do it a lot. And therefore understand how it works. And therefore have an easy time writing it.
Right.
And I think we succeeded tremendously.
I think so too. Not to toot our own collective horn, but like a doot wolf, but I think we did a great job.
I think we did a great job too. And like, I just want you to know that was done on purpose. We did that on purpose. It is meant to be fun to play. It is meant to be fun to engage with. And we didn't do like white room testing for balance, which like that happened as part of it, but like H and I did some fights and some other scenes where we just we engaged literally with just the rules.
Right.
Like, not with the framework of a campaign, just like, we just ran a fight and sort of played it like a versus board game. Or like, H had an antagonist, we were testing antagonist rules, I had a couple PCs and I was testing some PC rules, and we just like ran through a fight, no framing, no stuff like that, which people would call a white room, but the point was not to like, make sure that everything worked absent something else. It was to make sure that the rules were fun to play. Yeah,
that nothing had any sort of, that nothing felt bad to engage with.
Right, so,
that nothing took away from the enjoyment.
Right. It was to check to make sure that, like, things wouldn't remove characters from play, to make sure that negative mechanics were still exciting to engage with, that, like, if you stripped the game down to just rolls, was it basically like a fun board game? Were there any powers that we were testing that were too overwhelming? Did they slow the fight down? Did they, cause choice paralysis? Did they make it hard for me to decide what I was going to do next? And, like, all these things were not... That's balance, I guess. But, like...
It's balance in a sense, yeah, when you're balancing for whether a system is fun to engage with, which is important because that's one of the reasons why system matters. If you're, like you were saying earlier, if your system is a fucking bear to engage with, people aren't going to play your game.
Yeah. Yes.
That's all there is to it.
That's all there is to it. And we had a fight, like a big climactic end of the story arc fight in our home game that lasted 3 sessions and nobody was bored.
Really?
Yep.
That's like something you put on the game's resume.
Right? Well, a big throwdown fight with a ton of enemies and a big boss, and like, it went on for 3 sessions and everyone had a good time. So, like, if that's not a demonstration that it fucking worked, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Everybody had fun playing a game. Sounds like a successful game.
Yeah, like, of course there were down times where people were, like, looking at Twitter or whatever on their phone, because that just happens. Like, there's no 2 ways around the fact that, like, describing your action and making choices can take a few minutes. And you gotta take your turn. But, like, nobody was checked out completely.
Yeah.
It was more like, I'm gonna lightly sit here and, like, check Discord or tell people what's going on or, like, read my thing until it is my turn, which I think is a perfectly valid way to be. But you can definitely tell when someone is like, I'm tired of this.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And we have another episode about that on player engagement.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We have so many episodes now.
We do.
And I think now we have one more because I think this is the end of this episode.
I think it is. I think I've run out of steam.
Monica.
Yeah.
Where could they find our show?
They can find the show at bxpcast.com, which is part of the Misdirected Mark Network.
Bing. Could they email us, though? Where's our email?
Yeah, they can email us if you want to send us a really lovely email that I will read and forget to reply to. you can send it to bonusexpcast@gmail.com.
We have a Twitter too, though. Like, where's our Twitter?
Yeah, you want to add us on Twitter? You want to tell a system does or doesn't matter? You want to get in a big argument? You want to start some discourse with us?
You want to ruffle some feathers?
Yeah, we won't answer you. It's at BXPcast.
Yeah, why don't you tell them where they could find us on the Discords?
Yeah, if you have Discord and you want to hang out with us, we have a lovely community on Discord. tinyurl.com/bxpdiscord. The Discord itself is public. I think people think it's for patrons only, but it's not. It's public.
Yes, anyone can join.
Yeah, anyone can join. We have a little subsection for systematic understanding of everything.
I've complained about this at length, but if we get to a certain level of boosts, we can have a custom URL that isn't a tiny URL, but it requires spending like a ridiculous amount of money on Discord. So
I don't care. That's
whatever.
fine.
Anybody can join. It's just that if you're a patron, you get like the cool colors and the cool room.
Yes. Yep.
And
We give you cool colors, and then there's a private room where like we hang out in all the channels because it's not really a huge community, and we moderate it, so we're there all the time. But like, you get our personal attention in a private room. You get to hang out with just us.
We stare at you like unbroken eye contact, unblinking.
Yep. We tap on the glass that you're behind,
breathing heavily.
Yep.
Okay, now about the Twitters though.
Right now about the Twitters.
Yeah.
And
your Tumblrs
or the Tumblrs and all that. Yeah. On the Twitter, which I'm checking less of these days, I'm at Zenith Sun, and on the Tumblrs where like you can, if you want to, like, Tumblr has the ask function. If you want to go on Tumblr and ask a Dice Wizard design questions, I would love that. I am Dice-Wizard on Tumblr.
Okay, I'm following you on Tumblr.
You are following me on Tumblr. I'm following you back. We're mutuals.
I am on Twitter. I'm Ray W. Cole on Twitter. I'm still there. I don't spend as much time there lately, like Monica said. The news cycle has been fucking horrific, and it's harder to curate on Twitter than it is on Tumblr, weirdly enough. And I now have a Tumblr. My Tumblr is Ray as intended. That's RAI as intended. That's a joke.
That's a good one.
Thank you. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's
it. I think we're good. Yeah, alright, cool. Yeah. Everybody get out!
Alright, bye.
Everybody get out and change it if you want to.
Change it if you want to.
Do I have to do this? Oh, fine. Bonus Experience is written and produced by Monica and Ray. And edited by Margaret. Our logo and art is by Nino Studios. You can find her on Facebook and Instagram. Our theme song is Reuse Noise with the Light by CDK, and is used under the Attribution Non-Commercial Creative Commons license. BXP is part of the Misdirected Mark Network. What is all this? I'm not reading this. Fuck it. Bye.
Alright.
Let me get my clickies out.
Alright, get it. Alright.
ADHD maximum power! No! Alright, okay.
Okay, you good?
Alright. I'm good.
Alright, cool.